Cool. Thank you, Paul. Okay, next question is from Random. Why does the Father God keep secrets? In Revelations, John was commanded to keep something he saw hidden. More surprising to me was when Jesus said, my foggy memory, only the Father knows special stuff, not angels or even me, Jesus.
I love this question because this question illustrates so much of what I've been talking about. So, the Greek word that is usually translated by English translations, secrets, is mysterium. It's a mystery. Now, here's a problem. If I were to say, why does God, so you wouldn't say, God, why does God keep mysteries? Because in our lexical understanding of the English language, a secret is a bit of information withheld, often for a manipulative purpose, whereas a mystery is something that is sort of beyond our comprehension. Sometimes English translations will translate this mysterium as mystery, and sometimes they'll translate it as secret. Well, why on earth would they translate it as secret? Well, but if you read a lot of Greek, and there's fortunately a lot of Greek text out there, the Greek word has sort of a dual sense to it. And the way I illustrate that sense is I'll just use a contemporary example. There's a movie that you can find, I think it's on Netflix right now, Knives Out. And it's a contemporary whodunit that is very well done. And it's a fun movie where there's this old man and there's this immigrant nurse and a snooty bunch of children who want to inherit his money and his home and his possessions, and he leaves. He dies under mysterious incidences and leaves the money to the immigrant nurse, who of course is young and beautiful and innocent and charming, and she has a really interesting psychological quirk that she can't lie without vomiting, which adds a whole new layer to the story. And it's just a fun movie, and it's well done and it's well acted. But part of the fun of those kinds of stories is that there's an unfolding nature to the story. And this is a common thing in mystery novels, and sometimes people read the last page first and because they don't like the tension. But you can only understand the story as new elements of the story play themselves out. That is part of the idea behind this Greek word. And that's a very different idea from secrets. Part of what goes into this as well is the fact that the Bible, many Bible passages, both in the Old and New Testament, recognize David, for example, sometimes says things like, these things are too wonderful for me to know, something to that effect. Well, what does he mean by that? Sometimes we bump into things that we recognize are powerful, important, before us, but we can't fully get our minds around them. C.S. Lewis has this great example of sex and childhood, where he talks about the fact that when he was a boy learning about sex, he was trying to relate it to something that he knew. And the best thing in his child's mind, the best thing in the world was chocolate. And so he asked something to the effect of, or maybe he's just imagining a child doing this, is sex like chocolate? And so do you eat chocolate while you're having sex? And an adult listening to that would sort of chuckle, because an adult who understands and has experience with sex will think, well, I understand how a child would imagine that. And well, there are some times when people combine sex and chocolate, but they're sort of living in different realms, and the child can't, and hopefully can't, understand an adult perspective, a mature perspective on sexuality, because he's just a child. And so the you bump into passages like this sometimes where basically someone will say, well, the time has not fully come. Well, what do you mean by that? Well, if you're in the early parts of the movie Knives Out, the time has not yet fully come for you to understand what happened to the old man. And as with any good whodunit novel or movie, they'll show you some things initially, and after you get a little bit of information later on, those things that they showed you in the first place now look different. Another great movie about that does that is The Sixth Sense. And sometimes careful watchers will very quickly, early on, figure out the trick. Others won't see it till the end, and then they'll rewatch the movie, and it's like they're watching a different movie. When the Bible talks about mysteries or secrets, it's often talking about something like that. And John of the Apocalypse, the book of Revelation, uses this all the time. What is the book of Revelation? The book of Revelation, in my opinion, is a retreatment of Old Testament prophetic books like Daniel, like Ezekiel, but also Old Testament narrative, Genesis, Exodus. It's a retreatment with now the new information from Jesus. And that's what that book is doing. And so that book is full of mysteries and things hidden and all of that. Well, do we hide sex from children? Yes. Why? Because adults understand that if this can be hidden from a child for a while appropriately, the child has to grow up into being ready to understand it and enjoy it completely. Can 8-year-olds drive cars? Yes. Why don't we give them driver's licenses? It's not because an 8-year-old can't physically turn a wheel and push a gas pedal. It's because what a car is and how a car actually fits into the world requires a far larger perspective on the world. The same reason we don't give children guns. We don't give children guns because guns are difficult to operate. It's because guns operate at layers that the child is not able to comprehend. Now, some children will be very offended by the fact that you're not telling them everything they want to know. The wise parent will say, that's true. I'm not telling you everything you want to know because you can't know it in the way I want you to know it. I have to wait until you've had some experiences, until you've grown up a bit, until your mind has matured, and then it will be revealed. And a lot of these passages in the Bible that talk this way are exactly like that. And there are lots of other passages in the Bible that deal with time in exactly the same way. Now, modernists hate this because modernism implies sort of a flat epistemology where we sort of know things directly. Well, here's the thing. Children will often walk into their parents' bedrooms unannounced, and mom and dad are doing something very strange, and they're not wearing any clothing. And now a 3-year-old who walks into mommy and daddy's bedroom, they might not even notice anything. An 8-year-old might walk into mommy and daddy's bedroom, and now the 8-year-old understands clothing and nudity and might stand there kind of dumbfounded, not knowing what they're seeing. The 14-year-old who walks into mom and dad's bedroom and catches them in the act flies out of the bedroom, closes the door, is flush, and says, I don't ever want to see that again. Well, are what mom and dad doing a secret? Well, if you can see the picture, you can begin to understand why the language is laid out the way it is.
Does anybody have any questions or follow-up questions for Paul?
Just to comment on Sherry's response there too, that's right. Because everyone wanted to label Jesus as Messiah, but Jesus completely understood how that would lead them down the wrong road in terms of what his intentions and goals were, which is why he kept resisting the title. And he slyly embraces Son of Man. So when demons cry out, you're the Son of God, well, okay, well, what do you mean by that? And I know, people sometimes leave comments, oh, Paul, you're always playing the what do you mean by that game? And yeah, fair enough, I do. But the world is like that. The world is a mystery. In some ways, the world is a secret that is beyond us, and we can't understand it. And so a lot of what we do when we talk is to try to understand it better. And yeah, again, this irritates a modernistic epistemology that just says a car is a conveyance to get you from A to B. And one of the clips I want to make for my clip channel is Jordan Peterson's class where he says, is that what a car is? Or is a car a way to change the chemical composition of the atmosphere? Or is a car a way to redesign cities? Or is a car a way to reality is like that and real things are like that? And so, yeah, secrets are a part of that.